US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has restated his government's position that Israel must allow more humanitarian aid into Gaza. America's top diplomat has held talks with Israel's Prime Minister Benajmin Netanyahu during his latest push for a ceasefire in the Middle East. They also discussed Israel's war with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Families and supporters of hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza have demonstrated outside the hotel where Mr. Blinken met Israel's President Isaac Herzog. It's his 11th trip to the region since the war in Gaza began a year ago. He'll travel on to Saudi Arabia on Wednesday. Alon Liel is a former Director General of Israel's Foreign Ministry and was Israeli ambassador to South Africa in the early 1990s. He joins us from New York City. Welcome to DW. Do you see any point in Antony Blinken going back to Israel, given Benjamin Netanyahu's apparent disregard for US counsel as he's prosecuted this war?
I don't see a point in him going there now, before the American elections. The mood in Israel now is that Israel has to complete its military missions. I don't see anyone inside the Israeli government or cabinet ready to seriously talk, not in Gaza and not in Lebanon. So I think it's a waste of time, as were many of his previous trips.
So Israel's position, if I can put it crudely, no peace, no negotiation until Hamas and Hezbollah are wiped out.
And the word wipe up is not realistic, but I would say until they surrender or until they lose their military capabilities. The feeling in Israel is that Hamas already lost about 80 or 90% of its military abilities, and Hezbollah about close to a half. And we're in the middle, and Israel is losing soldiers all the time. And now the mood is, we lost so many people, let's go on until we first have a military victory and then think on going on.
Right. So the cost of this military victory in Gaza and in Lebanon appears to be the reduction of regions and towns to ruins and the destruction of infrastructure, which is that the future that Israel wishes to bequeath to Palestinians in Gaza and people in South Lebanon if it achieves its war aims?
It's very unfortunate, but the Israelis, or most of them, or at least those who support the government now, see, first of all, themselves, their suffering, their fears, and they're not even fully aware of the damage in Gaza and recently also in Lebanon. So the focus is on Israel, on its future, on its security, and not even on the attitude outside Israel, in the West or in the United States. Many people in Israel have the feeling that no matter what we do, we will not have international support, so let's better do more and finish the military work.
And even with the killing of the Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar, people are talking about that as being an opportunity for some sort of reset. But you see no hope of that until after the US elections?
I personally think there is hope. I personally think that that's a golden opportunity, and I think that's even a possibility for Netanyahu to declare victory. But this is not how he sees it, or his ministers see it. And for them, it's just another step toward full control in Gaza. And some of the ministers, and especially members of parliament, even start dreaming and thinking about settling or resettling in Gaza with Jewish outposts and villages. So obviously, the Israeli government see things very different than I see them.
Right. And If this was an opportunity for a reset, you know, people would be scratching their heads and wondering, well, who would Israel negotiate with, having taken out a whole swathe of Hamas's top leadership?
There are two levels here. One, who will control Gaza in the interim period? Israel feels we should do it. Israel should do it. The military should do it. And many of us feel a third party should do it. The other thing is to let the PA, the Palestinian Authority, who controls the West Bank, be more involved in the future of Gaza. And this also Israel is not willing to do because they are afraid it will strengthen Abu Mazen and his surroundings and maybe be a step toward the establishment of a Palestinian state. So many of us, especially retired diplomats and academicians, see a big opportunity, but the government doesn't want to use the diplomatic arm at this stage.
OK, thank you for guiding us through that so clearly. Dr. Alon Liel, former top Israeli diplomat. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.